I'm Mark Sponsler from StormSurf.com, and here's the surf forecast for the Hawaiian Islands for the week starting Friday, September 30th. Brought to you by your surf authority, expert advice, and friendly staff, Hawaiian South Shore. Be sure and like and subscribe. You get automatic notifications when the videos are posted, typically on Friday afternoons. All right, let's get to work. We're going to start by looking at significant wave heights for the South Pacific Ocean over the past week. It takes about a week for a swell generated in the South Pacific to reach the Hawaiian Islands. Here's Australia, here's New Zealand, here's Antarctica down here, and the Ross Ice Shelf. Pretty far to the north, it's winter down there, ice encroaching, cutting off a lot of the area for storm production. Now we see on Thursday, the 22nd of September, a small gale developed south of New Zealand, but all fetch was aimed off to the east, and no real swell was generated. As we go through the week, we're looking for any signs of seas roughly 28 feet or higher. That would be pretty dark red. Here is a little system that started pushing under New Zealand on Wednesday, but it basically pushed south into the Ross Ice Shelf. And then here we are today, still nothing generated. So then we start looking forward. This is starting today, September 30th, and moving forward, a small area of 28-foot seas is developing today into Saturday, pushing under New Zealand and tracking to the east, but still nothing really aimed to the northeast. All the energy appears to be aimed off to the east, maybe some small background swell to result. Then we see another gale, but again, the sense is all the energy is aimed at the Ross Ice Shelf and not northeast at Hawaii. Given the time of year, it's really not surprising. Really, the plan is to start looking to the North Pacific. 180 hours out, yeah, big storm forecast in the far southeast Pacific, completely unbelievable and not in the Hawaiian swell window. So for now, looks like the southern hemi starting to shut down. So then we look off to the north, same deal, going back a week, looking for any swell that might be traveling towards the Hawaiian Islands right there. U.S. West Coast here, Japan here, Philippines down here. So we're looking for something right in this area aimed south at Hawaii. Now, it only takes about 2 or 3 days for swell to reach Hawaii from there, so we're going back probably a little bit too far, but just give you a general idea, there was a gale on Tuesday over the North Dateline region, generated 18 to 20-foot seas, pushing southeast, and that swell is pushing towards the Hawaiian Islands as we speak. Nothing huge, but perhaps something rideable. All right, let's go look to the future. Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper here. We're going to start by looking at jet stream level winds. These winds up about 30,000 feet help support the formation of gales. When those gales form, help direct their track. We're looking for a trough, a pushing the jet to the south, just like there. That helps create a counterclockwise flow aloft and down at the ocean surface. That's the hallmark of low pressure. And low pressure, if it's strong enough, generates winds. Winds, if they're strong enough and aimed at the Hawaiian Islands, generate seas pushing south. Those seas, as they approach the Hawaiian Islands, turn into swell, which eventually makes surf. All right, so we have a trough, but it's really pinched. There's not any room between the southward following component of it and the northward pushing component of it. So not super supportive of gale development. Now that trough is supposed to cut off and create an upper level low as we get into Saturday and Sunday, the 2nd of October, and that might create a low pressure system that could possibly send some swell towards the Hawaiian Islands. That low fades out as we get into Tuesday, but then another broader trough is forecast with good energy pushing down into it. This is about 130 knot winds pushing to the south, and that'd be on Tuesday night, the 4th of October into the 5th, and there's a real legitimate trough forecast, perhaps the first solid trough of the season, if you believe the models. But notice, it gets cut off too. The main energy flow off to the north here. Still, that cutoff low certainly should do something to generate swell. Then 180 hours out, you get the sense that it's going to start tapping the main jet stream flow and reinvigorating. But again, hard to trust a model that far into the future. So looking down at the ocean surface, we know there's a really steep pinch trough right here that might do something to help create a gale. And Hawaii, again, right under the tag right there. So notice this. So we put this into motion. So we get into Saturday morning, a little area of 30 to almost 35 knot winds starts developing. That's pretty close to Hawaii. That's only like 1,200, maybe 1,500 miles out. Those winds build to 35, almost 45 knots 40 knots, on Saturday evening, and then continue, and the low itself is falling south into Sunday morning. That certainly should generate some swell. The low starts fading. Then here we know there's another trough forecast in this area, and sure enough, here's a gale developing on Tuesday, the 4th of October, with 30 to 35 knot winds, falling south, aimed again well at the Hawaiian Islands. Probably some swell to result from that. And then the low continues circulating, actually getting a little bit stronger, with more energy starting to develop as we get a week out. Still, models that far out, not really reliable, but at least it looks like a step in the right direction. So let's look at the effect of those winds on the ocean surface. We know a little gale is supposed to develop here on Saturday night. Sure enough, here we go, 21-foot seas, maybe building to 22 foot, something like that, but really close to the Hawaiian Islands. Certainly some north-northeast swell should result from that. Then we know another gale is forecast up here as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. You see 18, 19-foot seas, now not aimed at the islands as well, maybe a little bit more towards the U.S. West Coast, but still, there we go, 20, 21-foot seas due north of the Hawaiian Islands. Sideband swell should result from that. And then additional energy is forecast building in as we get into the weekend, a week out. So we'll keep our eyes on that. So putting all this together, so right now there are small waves on the South Shore. It's rideable, even though we're saying no swell of interest forecast, 2 feet or less. Waves right now are waist high, maybe some chest high peaks. That would be about 2 foot Hawaiian, something like that, 1.5 foot. More of the same on Saturday and Sunday. Then a little bit of background energy from just random, low pressure moving under New Zealand. Swell 1.5 feet at 14 to 15 seconds. So 2 foot Hawaiian, we'll say chest high on the face. That swell continues on Tuesday, the 4th, at 1.6 feet at 13 seconds. So about 2 feet again, waist to chest high. And then yet on Wednesday, continuing more at 1.6 feet at 12 to 13 seconds. So a little bit less energy. Still 2 foot, waist high, chest high, something like that. So small waves on the South Shore, but the focus is clearly turning towards the North Shore. So on Saturday, swell from a small gale that was up to the at the North Dateline region a couple of days ago. That's supposed to be building to 2.6 feet at 11 to 12 seconds later. So 3 foot, we'll say head high, maybe a little bit overhead on the sets. And then that fades out and just pure wind swell, 3.4 feet at 8 to 9 seconds on Sunday, October 2nd, 2.5 foot. So we'll say chest high, something like that. But then real swell from a gale forecast developing later today in the Northern Gulf. That's supposed to start building on Monday, the 3rd, building to 4 feet at 14 seconds later. That'd be 5.5 foot. So we're not going to say double overhead, but maybe a foot or 2 or maybe even 3 overhead and rideable. That continues on Tuesday, the 4th of October at 4.6 feet at 12 seconds. So again, about 5.5 feet, couple feet overhead, something like that. And then starting to wind down as we get into Wednesday, the 5th of October at 2.8 feet at 10 seconds. So mainly just wind swell, about waist high, something like that, maybe a little bit bigger. But certainly the change is coming. So for now, small swell on the South Shore continues. A little bit of reinforcement as we get into the early part of the week, but definitely things starting to wind down. The Southern Hemisphere starting to get quiet as winter starts taking over. But looking up north, North Pacific slowly starting to come online. One little gale forecast producing some swell for the early part of the week, and maybe more as we get deeper into the week. Models still a little bit unstable, but something to watch for. All right, so that's it for this week, but we'll do this again next week. Be sure to do all your shopping at Hawaiian South Shore, and we'll see you next Friday with the forecast. Have a good weekend.